All right, it's time for the lesson. I hope that you've had an opportunity to share something that you feel like you're experienced at. And whether that's high school or, I don't know, maybe you think that you're experienced at playing checkers. Whatever it is, I hope that you were able to share that on the Nearpod collaboration board on one of the last slides. So, yeah, I want to talk about first of all, I want to talk about some of my experiences, but then you're going to have the opportunity to share some of your experiences. And before you say, well, Mr. Winger, I don't have any experiences, hear me out. Hear me out. There are a lot of things that prepare us for what we're going to do, and there are a lot of different experiences that might surprisingly prepare you for something else. So, first of all, some of the basic experience that kind of makes sense for performing and or music, choir, teaching, yada yada. For me, it goes back to when I was 2 years old. My grandmother would always tell the story that I've been singing since I was 2. I would sing the ABCs for her camping group. So if you were listening to her tell the story, she would say it all started there. Well, I grew up singing, starting at 2 at my grandparents' campground, and ever since I've sung at lots of different places. I've sung at festivals. I've sung in church. I've sung in school. I've sung in choirs, all kinds of different choirs, starting with the Cumberbuns, which was a little kids choir that I started singing in when I was in the 3rd grade. And I sang in school choirs. I sang in community choirs. There was a community choir in Nashville that I sang with while I was there, living in Nashville during my college years. And I went to festivals, as I mentioned. We had district and regional festival for choir. I never made All-State. So there's a fun fact. I never made All-State choir. So, but I persevered, and guess what? I learned from that experience, and from the experience of auditioning for it, from the experience of not making it. Sometimes our experiences involve challenges and or some degree of failure. And so in any case, I've had a lot of choir experiences, and obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning, during the introduction, this is my 12th year teaching choir, my 5th year teaching high school choir. So I've had plenty of singing experiences. I've also had a lot of drama experiences, a lot of musical experiences, and that started really when I was in the 4th grade. I had the opportunity to play Oliver in the show Oliver at a community theater in the area in which I grew up, and I was also in The Secret Garden. I was the part of Colin, and started it all for me. I became interested in theater. I thought I wanted to be on Broadway someday, and so at that point in my life, and so I actually did some summer acting at a professional theater that was close to where I grew up, and so I actually got to meet one of the people that I will be interviewing for our Fandom Friday, who has been on Broadway and has been a part of a cast on Broadway. So that's just a little preview, I guess. But I did that for many summers growing up, and I loved it. I was in my productions in school, from my silly middle school productions of these just crazy shows that my teachers found. One was called The Internal Teen Machine. So lots of funny musicals that I got to be a part of in middle school. Then in high school, my high school years, my favorite memory was being a part of Music Man. And I was in the quartet. Oh, I guess in junior high I did get to play Prince Charming, and Cinderella. So lots of different theater experience. Then in college, I was in a drama production of Pride and Prejudice, and I've done some other random musical theater things, but I've done things like that have also given me experience. So those things are obviously related. Now let's talk about some of the things that maybe you wouldn't think would be related to choir, but I think that they count as experience. In fact, if you've done any of these things, I want to know about it in your video. Have you ever presented? Have you ever presented in another class? Maybe you were doing a presentation for biology or your math class. Do they do presentations in math? I don't know. But maybe you did a presentation for another class. Maybe you have been in a choir before. Maybe you have had solos before. Maybe you were in your third grade production, your third grade Christmas play, and you got to play an elf. I'm not sure, but think about all of the things that maybe you wouldn't count. Maybe you were in a church choir or in a church production of some sort. All of these things count as experience, whether it was presenting, doing a presentation in one of your classes, or maybe it was performing in some way. What about this? Have you ever done a Snapchat? Have you ever made a Snapchat? Have you ever made a TikTok? Have you ever made a video of any kind for a class or for fun on the side? Guess what? That counts as experience. And so there are a lot of different things that can kind of prepare us and give us experience. I guess the last thing that I want to share about experience is this. Experience is always something that we can gain. Experience is always something that we can learn from, that we can grow from, that we can improve from. And because of that, you have to start somewhere with experience. Maybe you feel like, I just don't have any experience. I don't know if I can do this. Guess what? You have to start doing it in order to learn and to gain experience. And so whether you've been in choir for 4 years or this is your first year in choir, I want you to be encouraged and know that there are other things that have given you experience. Oh, I think I forgot one to mention, and that's this. Maybe you're an athlete. I played sports in high school and middle school and all through, and guess what? When you're an athlete, you are performing in front of crowds. Maybe you're not singing for them. Maybe you're not acting for them. Maybe you're not speaking. But you're performing something that you've been practicing with other people in front of a large group of people. We'll take a break for a sec. All right, the announcement is over and school is still going on. So, in your Flipgrid, you'll get an opportunity to share about your experiences. No matter how unimportant you might think it is, I want to hear about every little experience that you've had. But it's a Flipgrid, so you only get a minute and a half to tell me all about your resume, all about the experiences you've had. Thanks so much for listening, and take care of that Flipgrid, and that's all the only assignment activity you have left to do.